Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Rhonas, and today we're going to be doing Magic Gathering Top 10 Captain. And now, at number 10. And at number 10, we have Sisay Weatherlight Captain from Modern Horizons, and it's a rare. The reason why it's at number 10 is it costs 3 for a 2/2, which is but again, the ability, it costs 1 mana of all the colors. Search your library for a legendary permanent card with a current mana cost less than Sisay's power and put it card onto the battlefield. Again, 3 mana. You're going to pay 5 mana to get that 3 mana legendary up. I find that very hard to believe that someone would waste their time doing that. Even though it gets +1/+1 for each color among legendary permanents, it is absolutely one of the worst captain cards out there. But unfortunately, I had to put a card on the list, so this is why it's at number 10. I personally do not like this card at all, so let's move on to number 9. At number 9, we have Captain of the Mists. It's from Avakian's Restore, Dual Decks, Blessed versus Cursed, and as you can see, it is a rare. I thought the card was pretty decent, though it's at number 9. In general, it says whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, untap Captain of the Mist. You may tap or untap a permanent. The reason why it's at number 9 is it costs 1 blue and 1 colorless. As you know, there are many white cards in the Magic world that can do it just for 1 mana. And 3 for 2/3, this human wizard, it's not that good. You have to do all these abilities to untap him. It's just, again, this is why it's at number 9. So let's just simply move on to number 8. And at number 8, as you can see, is Kalemne's Captain from Commander 2015, Anthology in 2020, and as you can see, it is a rare. I put it in here at number 8 is because it's really cool. It costs 5 mana for this 5/5, and it has Vigilance, so that is very impressive. I've always been a fan of creatures with Vigilance. So when it becomes monstrous, exile all artifacts and enchantments, which can be very helpful, especially if you're playing, say, a commander deck, which a lot of artifacts and enchantments would most likely be in that deck. It has monstrosity of 7, which again is really cool. It gets +1/+1 for 3 counters, monstrosity of 3. So on loan, it can be that big. So 8/8 for 7 mana with Vigilance. Again, that's a big impact for me. So, but again, there are more number cards better than this. So let's move on to number 7. At number 7, we have Greven Predator Captain from Commander 2019, and as you can see, it's also a mythic rare. It's a very cool 3 colors in a swamp and a mountain for 5/5 with Menace. That alone makes this captain really cool, and it says it's +0 plus X +0, where X is the amount of life you've lost this turn. So again, if you have shock or something, maybe you want to target yourself, who knows. But it also says when it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw cards equal to the creature's power. You lose life equal to that creature's stuff. So again, shock yourself, sacrifice a creature. With Menace, you can really do some damage. So let's move on to number 6. At number 6, we have Diregraf Captain from Dark Ascension or the Dual Decks, and it's an uncommon. I like the picture, and I like this card actually in general. I'm a big fan lately of Death Touch, so it costs 1 color, some blue, and a swamp to bring out a 2/2 Death Touch. It says other zombie creatures you can control get +1/+1. Whenever the zombie you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life. I think this card is very good if you are obviously building a zombie deck. I like the picture. I like Death Touch. That's the biggest thing. But let's move on to number 5. At number 5, we have Captain of the Watch from Magic 2010-13 and Dual Decks, and as you can see, it's a rare. I really like this captain because it's a human soldier, and it says other soldier creatures you control get +1/+1 and have villagers. And soldier has a big player base in the Magic world, so this card can be very helpful when you're trying to do a theme deck, which not a lot of people play nowadays. But it also has, when it enters the battlefield, put 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens on the play. So you're paying 6 mana for basically 4 creatures, 1/1, then you get +1/+1. And then if you have, say, an enchantment, you have soldiers get +1/+1. So it just keeps adding on. So this rare could actually almost be a mythic rare if you play the deck correctly. So let's move on to number 4. And at number 4, we have good old Captain Sisay from Evasion, and it is a rare. Bring back memories from the back of the day when I was playing a lot more Magic. It says, search your library for a legend or a legendary card, reveal that card, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Nowadays, with so much Magic cards in the world, this is why it's at number 4, is because legend and legendary cards, that's a joke. That's like in every set, at least 5 to 10. So again, her leadership, forge the Weatherlight's finest crew, and it only costs 2 colors, a forest, and a plains for that 2/2. Could be dying right away from any kind of burn, but overall, I think this is a very good captain card. But there are 3 more, so let's just start with number 3. And at number 3, we have Diregraf, Captain of Chaos. It's for more of Spark, and it's an uncommon. Believe it or not, that's right. Number 3 is an uncommon, is the best uncommon captain I think there is in the entire Magic world. Costs 4 mana for that Captain of Chaos, but creatures you control have menace. That alone, I think, is just worth it for 4 mana to have your creature control have menace, because menace is a really hard ability to block, because you're not exactly going to have, unless you're playing a green stompy deck, I don't see how this is going to stop a lot of decks. And it he has 5, so the commander, and it says -2, mass 2, put 2 +1/+ counters on an army you control. If you don't have control 1, create a 0/0 black zombie army creature token first. There you go. A mass 2, again, creatures you control have menace. Could be a good late game, control game, mid game, beginning game. This card is amazing. But alas, there are 2 more, so let's move on to number 2. At number 2, we have Precinct Captain, so it's kind of like Captain of the Watch, but this is a sort of a better version of Captain of the Watch. I like him, and he's at number 2, is because it costs 2 mana for a 2/2 first strike. Already, that's very, very impressive. And then whenever it deals combat damage, put a 1/1 white soldier creature token onto the battlefield. So again, if you have any enchantment or anything that pumps up a specific thing, or soldiers or creatures, this can be quite annoying quite fast. And he's from, as you can see, from Return of the Ravnica dual decks, and as you can see as well, it is a rare. This Precinct Captain is a very impressive picture by Steve Prescott. So let's move on to the number 1 card. And at number 1, out of all the captains in the Magic world, this is my favorite and best captain in the world. It is Emberwild Captain from Commander Legends, and it's a rare. Costs 4 mana for that 4/2. The saying goes, you are bold, challenger, but flammable. It says, when it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. Whenever an opponent attacks you while you are the monarch, Captain deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand. So there's so many combos you can use with this card, even if he has 2 cards in his hand. If he attacks you, that's 2 damage he's taking. 1, 1, 1. Like, I don't have to do the math, but that is just the way the card works. I think this is why it's not number 1, and it's pure red. So that is actually the best of the 10 captains. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and there's more on this channel. So if you do, just watch more and hit that subscribe button. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Rune. So today we're going to be looking at the top 10 Jackal. That's right, the top 10 Jackal in Magic the Gathering. So let's begin with the top 10. And now at number 10. At number 10 we have Jackal Familiar from Magic 2010, and it's a common. And here it's at 10. Well, it's not exactly a traditional Jackal, it is a Jackal Familiar, which is really cool because it's a hound. And it looks totally like a Jackal, but in hound form. It says can't attack or block alone. Costs 1 mana for a 2/2, which can be very helpful because you bring that out first turn, and second turn you would bring out some kind of hasting creature that would be typically 2 for a 2/2 haste. Regardless, but either way, I think that's really cool. At number 10, it's basically 1 for a 2/2, and that's why it's there. So let's move on to number 9. And at number 9, we have Disposal Mummy from the Hour of Devastation series, and it is a common. I think this one is really cool. This zombie jackal. I just like the picture in and itself. Costs 3 mana for that 2/3, and when it enters the battlefield, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. Again, in the real Magic world, this card is not very good, but when it comes to Jackals, well, it's at number 9. And removing a card, it could be very helpful with the new standard in Magic where graveyard retrieval is very common. So then, putting this out could be very helpful, but that's about it. So let's move on to number 8. And at number 8, we have Venerated Warrior from Amonkhet series, as well as found in the Mystery Booster series. And as you can see, it's a common. And it's here because it costs 2 for a 2/2, which is pretty standard and good. And it's a Jackal Warrior, so why not? And it says you may exert Venerated Warrior as it attacks. When you do, it gets +1/0 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. So the only reason why it's here, again, is because it's 2 for a 2/2, and it has that ability for Death Touch that can make basically very annoying to another opponent because it has Death Touch. Because it could be like a 2-3, 2-5, it could stop a 10-10, whatever, and it will die, typically. I really like the artwork for this card. I don't know, I find that most Jackal cards have really cool pictures in them. So let's move on to number 7. Now at number 7 we have Dread Wanderer from the Amoket series as well, and it is a rare. Costs 1 for a 2/1, so alone, that in itself is pretty good. And when it enters the battlefield, it comes into tap. But you can pay 2 colors and a swamp. It says return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this ability only time you can cast as a sorcery, and only if you have 1 or fewer cards in your hand. So empty your hand and he keeps coming back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Could be used as a sacrifice for ability, some kind of card, and it could be annoying just to stop creatures from constantly attacking you. You block, bring them back, block, bring them back. Again, if I said it before 100 million times, and I'll say it one more time, I love the artwork. Something about that picture makes it look so cool. And most cards are probably going to be from this series, so this is why it's here. So let's keep going and move on to number 6. And at number 6 we have Dreadhorde Twins from War of the Sparks, and it's an uncommon. Costs 4 mana to bring it in, but I think it's really cool because it enters the battlefield amass 2. It's free creatures. Awesome, I love it. But again, those zombie tokens you control have trample as well. Again, you can use this card to a great advantage if you know how and built it around the Mass series. And the picture is a blue Jackal this time, so that's really cool. So let's move on to number 5. So halfway down our list we have Earthshaker Khenra from Hour of Devastation, and as you can see it is a rare, and it's really cool. It costs again 2 mana for a 2/1, which we keep seeing, and I also keep seeing really cool pictures, but it has haste, so alone that itself is pretty good. And when it enters the battlefield, target creature with power less or equal to Earthshaker can block this turn. Perfect, because again, second turn, typically you would have a 2/2 out or something. So again, this guy might be basically unblockable at the time. It also has exile this card from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie Jackal warrior with no mana cost. Eternalize only as a sorcery. So that's really cool. Costs 6 mana for that 4/4 later. So it's basically you can get 2 creatures out of this if it's still in your graveyard. Again, really cool. So let's move on to number 4. At number 4 we have Champion of Rhonas, as well as this from the series Amoket as well, and it's a rare. Costs 4 mana for that 3/3 because it has when you may exert Champion as it attacks. When you do, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Perfect. Right there alone. This card is only good, and it's here at number 4 because of that alone ability. It's a rare, it's not even a legendary, so that's really cool. You can have that with multiple out, but again, it will empty your hand pretty fast. So let's move on to number 3. At number 3 we have Nimble-Blade Khenra from Amoket, and it's a common. Costs 2 for this 1/3, but it has prowess, which is really cool in a red deck. This is why it's at number 3, because this can give it an ability, pump, 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 like just play shock 3 times and there you go. Prowess says whenever you cast an non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Makes perfect sense for this type of creature. And it says, in the hour of glory, the gods and the untested will prove their worth before the god Pharaoh. Really cool saying. 1/3, and it is a common. It's number 3, and it's a common. So let's move on to number 2. So at number 2, we have Khenra Eternal from Hour of Devastation, and it's common. And just like its predecessor of the red, this one is actually black. It says Afflict 1. So whenever this creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 1 life. So again, that could be all the abilities, but we're talking about Jackal, so this is why it's at number 2. I think the Afflict is actually a game changing. And again, let's do it. The picture is great. Look at that blue zombie Jackal warrior. So there's one card out of them all that's number 1. So let's move on to number 1. And at number 1, we have Wildfire Eternal from Hour of Devastation, and it's a rare. And I'm going to comment on the picture. It's a blue cleric, so it's a zombie Jackal cleric. Given that blue theme with the fire, and not only has Afflict 1, it has Afflict 4. So whenever this creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 4 life. So 4 mana, 1/4 for that ability. Great. Whenever it attacks or isn't blocked, you may cast an instant or sorcery card from your hand without paying its mana cost. even better. That's even on top of that. And it's not even a legendary, it's a rare. So this ability alone, with everything added to it, makes this the #1 Jackal of all the cards in Magic the World at this time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and there's more on the channel, so I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Rhonas, and we're here to explore Magic the Gathering, the world of the top 10 Loxodon. How many are we going to put on the list? Just 10, but which ones are on that list? You have to keep watching and find out. So let's begin with number 10. So the first on our list is Loxodon Peacekeeper. It's from Mirrodin, and it's a rare. Costs 2 for a 4/4, so the reason why it's at number 10 is, well, its ability. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, the player with the lowest life total gains control of the Peacekeeper. If 2 or more players are tied for the lowest life, you choose one of them, and then that player gains control of it. So it's really cool. 2 for a 4/4. There's so many ways you can gain around it, but again, I just like the 4/4. You can put it out as good even as a defender until you start attacking. This is why it's at number 10. A really cool card. Artwork I'm not too fan of, I'm sorry, but it's not that good. So let's move on to number 9. Now at number 9 we have Woolly Loxodon. It's either from Masters 25 or Concept Takir, and it is a common. And again, I like to say this, it's a Loxodon. The most powerful one in the entire Magic world. It is a 6/7. This is the only reason why it's here. It's on the list at number 9 is because it is the most powerful Loxodon you will find. Morph is not that great. Costs 7 mana for a 6/7. Not that great either. Really cool artwork. I do like the picture. I'm very impressed with it. But again, it is only here at number 9 because it is the most powerful Loxodon on this list. So let's move on to number 8. And at number 8 we have Loxodon Anchorite. It's from 5th Dan, and it is a common. The reason why it's here at this number is because it says prevent 2 damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn. It's just 2, 3, 4, 4, but again, its ability is what makes it on number 8. That's just annoying. Simple as that. 2 damage, but at that point, maybe 2 damage won't make the difference against whatever. Has 3 defense, so a simple lightning bolt can kill it, but again, that can be the ability for anything in the Magic world. Again, sorry guys for the repeating, but this Loxodon is only here to prevent the 2 damage, and that can be annoying every turn, especially you have 4 of them that can prevent 8 damage, and you can prevent that damage to each of them, or so forth. So let's move on to number 7. And at number 7 we have Loxodon Lifechanter. It's from Core 2020, and it is a rare. Again, it was very debatable about how I wanted to put this in because it says when it enters the battlefield, you may have your life total become the total toughness of all creatures you control. It's a 4/6. Again, thankfully it says may, because I don't see how this card would be very effective in the Magic world. That's why I didn't see it when I was playing in the format. Not a lot of people play this. And it costs 6 mana. It says Loxodon Lifechanter gets X plus X until it, where X is your life total. Again, that could be very helpful if you're doing a life deck, but 6 mana for this 4/6 Loxodon, that's very debatable. That's why it's at this number on. So let's move on to number 6. And at number 6 we have Loxodon Hierarch. It's from Green Guild Kit, Dual Decks, and Ravnica, City of Guilds, and it's a rare. So this card gets around. It's really cool. It's not too bad for a rare. It's 4 mana for a 4/4. So already, again, for a general, that's pretty good. And it says when it enters the battlefield, gain 4 life. It can also sacrifice it to regenerate it to your creature you control for 1 forest and white mana. Again, this is why here it's at number 6. It's an average card. It's alright. It's pretty good. And in fact, outside of the Loxodon realm, this is actually a pretty good card. This is why it's at number 6. So let's move on to number 5. Now at number 5, we have Loxodon Mystic from 10th edition or Dark Steel. And believe it or not, it's a common. The reason why it's at number 5 is because of its ability. Tap target creature. That is 100% annoying, especially you have 4 of them, which is really doubtful when it costs 5 mana for that 3/3. But tapping target creature every turn, very, very annoying. That's it. This is why it's at number 5. It's just that tapping ability. Can't get any worse than that. So let's move on to number 4. And at number 4 is Venerated Loxodon from Guilds of Ravnica, and it's a rare. In fact, this is actually one of my favorite cards in Guilds of Ravnica because you can do so much with those 1/1 creatures out and put this out right away. So it costs 5 mana for this 4/4, but It has Convoke, which is really cool. It says your creatures can help cast a spell. Each creature you tap costs 1 colorist to pay toward that. Absolutely amazing, because when it also enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that it convoked. I actually got on Arena. I was in the top 100 when I was playing a deck with this guy. I love this card. Fortunately, it's not the best Loxodon, so I had to put it at number 4, but personally, it is my favorite. So let's move on to number 3. And at number 3, we have Loxodon Punisher. It's from Muradon, and it is a rare. This is really cool because it says it gets +2/+2 for each equipment attached to it. So you can easily do trample, flying, or anything and just keep pumping it up. And then if you have that enchantment, says gets +1/+1 for each enchantment in play. This can be even more powerful. So this Elephant Soldier is a Punisher, if you get my drift. It is just great. It costs 4 mana for that 2/2, which is absolutely fine because, again, you can easily pump this up to 100 if you really wanted to do it. Again, that's why it's here at number 3, but there are 2 other cards, so let's move on to number 2. Now, at number 2, we have Loxodon Smiter. It's from Return to Ravnica, and it's a rare. Look at that. 3 mana for a 4/4 in itself, and it can't be countered. Wow, that just great. I know it's at number 2, but how do you beat that? And it says, if a spell or ability in opponent controls causes you to discard Smiter, put it into your battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard. Like, how is this only a rare? How do you not play with this card? 3 for a 4/4 in and of itself is great, and it can't be countered. This is like the ultimate card. I don't know why I said ultimate, but there is one I think better than this. This one is amazing. This should be in every type 1 deck if you're playing green-white. So let's move on to the ultimate, number 1. At number 1, we have Loxodon Gatekeeper, and it's from Ravnica, City of Guilds, and it's a rare. The reason why this is number 1 is it is 100% annoying, and I love it. It says, artifacts, creatures, and lands your opponents control come into play tapped. 100% lands. That ability alone to make his lands come into play tapped just stalls him for an extra turn every time. Creatures, haste, not a problem. And I love the saying. It says the gatekeepers are so fastidious that even the winds must wait to pass. That is true. It costs 4 mana for that 2/3. So again, not too bad at all. Anything can take him out, like a blazing salvo or anything but a shock. It won't do anything to him. This is the number 1 Loxodon card in the entire Magic world, and I absolutely love this card. In any type of multiplayer game, you want this card in the deck, which I have several decks made with this guy. Any multiplayer deck, like I said, it is 100% the best. So I hope you enjoyed this card and this video, and I hope you guys have a good day and a good evening.